but I don't want to wait too much longer because some of you may be, on a tight schedule, set to go someplace at 11, a las 11. Ok, muy bien. Y buenos días.
Buenos días.
Feliz.
Buenos días.
Y buenos días. Feliz martes. Happy Tuesday. Y vamos a practicar con muchísimas cosas. We're going to practice with a lot of things. A lot of things will start to come together. It will feel that way. But that is kind of the way it goes with language. All of a sudden, you start to get a lot of topics beginning to merge, and we're kind of at that stage now. This is officially the last class, but it isn't really. I will do another class next week and the week after that. So it'll take us right up to almost Christmas time. So you get a couple of freebies because this is such a short session. So I do hope you join us for the next couple of weeks, even though today is the official last day, not really the last day. Okay. Muy bien, vamos a practicar con ser y estar. We're going to see some more examples of ser y estar, and I want you to ask me once we get to the right point if you have questions on that topic. We'll talk a little bit about the tener idioms, just a little bit, to see that you understand what that is about, although it's just one of those things that they are phrases, we call them modismos in Spanish, but idioms in English, things you just have to memorize. They don't translate and make any sense at all. It's just the sequence of words that you have to get used to using. And then we're going to talk about describing our houses a little bit, practicing with numbers a little bit. The whole idea of adjectives is going to work its way into this, okay? And so when we describe our houses, that idea of adjectives that talk about things in our house, like a big room or a little room or a blue room or, like I say, a white sofa, whatever. That will start to bleed into that, and just know that adjectives will have to be in the same kind of form as the things, the nouns that they talk about, but we'll get to that in just a bit. Okay, I do hope you've got a little short description about la casa, your house, su casa, your house, ready to go. And if you don't, that's okay, because we'll have lots of other examples, but hopefully you've got something to talk about. We're going to open with a video, un video, something I did not send as homework because it would have been a little bit complicated to send you off to do on your own. This is a great video that does a little contrast, even though it has nothing to do with Spain, but it is in Spanish. It is going to talk about how we can talk about, por ejemplo, for example, a city, and use a combination of I, which they're going to list it as haber, because that's the original verb it comes from. I and ser and estar, all three of those verbs, or as they do in Europe, all three of those verbs to talk about a city. And so we're going to see, in other words, the situations which will differ in which you use ser versus estar versus I. And remember, I is only going to be to talk about a thing's existence, just that it's around, that it exists, okay? But the other two, ser and estar, are going to indicate very specific situations. So I want you to hear the situations. Do I put, yeah, I'm going to put on closed captions so you can see some closed captions. They're not always 100%, but anyway, I want you to kind of be aware of the situations, and we'll pause this as we go along. We'll probably even fast forward through a little bit of it, but okay. So Sergio Martin is an online instructor, and he's going to have a little description of a city, which is oddly in the Czech Republic, but it's where he's visiting. So He's using that as an opportunity to teach this.
Martín, y estoy de vacaciones en la República.
Estoy de vacaciones. I'm on vacation. He's talking about his location. Remember, for how you feel or where you are, always use a verb estar. So if he's talking about where he is and that he is on vacation, it's estoy de vacaciones en la República Checa. En la República Checa. He's telling where he is.
Checa. Hoy vamos a aprender cómo describir una ciudad usando 3 verbos muy importantes.
So he said we're going to learn how to use 3 important verbs to describe a city.
Haber, ser y estar.
And haber is going to morph into what you know as hay. H-A-Y, H-A-Y. Hay, there is, there are. And you're only going to hear it in that form. Okay.
Podemos describir la ciudad donde estoy ahora, Hradec Králové, de una forma muy sencilla.
We can describe this city in a very simple way.
En Hradec Králové hay iglesias.
And he names the city. I'm not going to attempt it because I don't know Czech. Hay iglesias. There are, and he points behind him. There are what?
Castle.
Yeah, these are churches. Iglesia.
Oh, church.
Yeah, iglesia is church. See, it could almost look like a castle, couldn't it? Castillo would be castle. Hay iglesias, and our fancy English word ecclesiastical to talk about church hierarchies comes from that same Latin root as iglesias. Hay iglesias. There are churches.
Hay hoteles y restaurantes.
He's talking about what's around in the city. Hay hoteles y restaurantes. There are hotels and restaurants. Okay. He's just talking about what exists.
Hay farmacias.
There are
Pharmacies.
Yeah. Whenever you're traveling, you look for these green crosses. Often they have neon things, they blink because usually people are in a hurry when they need those, right? Hay farmacias, there are pharmacies.
Hay museos.
There are museos, museums. So he's just talking about what's around.
Usamos hay del verbo haber para hablar de la existencia de cosas.
We use I to talk about the existence, just to say that they're around. In the vicinity.
Hradec Králové no es muy famosa, pero
and now he's going to describe what this town is really like. No es famosa, pero es interesante. It's not famous, but it's interesting. So these are, we can use ser for physical descriptions, but in this case, he's talking about just characteristics that define what that city is like. Not famous, but interesting.
Es interesante. Es una ciudad histórica.
It's an historic city. Okay, description. The city can't feel anyway, can it? So, we're talking about a description of what it's really like. Características, characteristics. Es bastante bonita. Bastante means quite. It's quite pretty. Es bastante bonita. It's quite pretty.
Y es bastante bonita. Usamos es del verbo ser para describir las cosas.
We use ser to describe things, but to describe the characteristics of what it really is like. And a description it tells you something that is intrinsic, an integral part of what that thing or what that person is.
La iglesia está en la plaza.
And now he's going to talk about location. La iglesia está en la plaza. The church is in the plaza. Okay? Plaza, it's a central gathering area, la plaza.
Está en el centro de la ciudad.
It's in the center of the city. Location. Okay?
Usamos está del verbo estar para localizar las cosas.
We use estar to locate things, to tell about location.
En la República Checa hay una ciudad que es.
Hay una ciudad que es interesante. There is a city that is interesting.
Bastante interesante y que está en el este del país.
And is in the east, en el este, in the east part of the country. Okay, y eso es todo. Do we have a little
¿Y
bit?
tú?
Oh.
¿Cómo describes tu ciudad?
Okay, como describes tu ciudad? That is probably a little more bigger bite than we want to chew right now, but that's okay. Está bien. Vale. So these differences between ser and estar, and you're going to see a few more of them for sure, will come up over and over and over again. You also had, we're going to see a few more examples of ser and estar. I've got to get to the right screen here. You also have this video, and I'll take your questions if you have any questions on that in just a couple of minutes. We want to take a look at ser and estar just a little bit more, un poquito más. So if we were to talk about these people, and now if I only describe this lady, if I only identify her, if I only talk about characteristics, and maybe I give her name, so I use that other verb, se llama, her name is, se llama Sofía Vergara. Her name is, right? That's a different verb, not ser or estar or hay. Se llama Sofía Vergara, es colombiana. Where she's from, she's Colombian, see? Es delgada. She's skinny. Skinny. She's thin. Es delgada. She is thin. Es muy cómica o es graciosa. Those are two words we use for funny. Es actriz en un programa de la televisión. She is a TV program actress. She's an actress on a TV show. Okay. Se llama Salma Hayek. Her name is Salma Hayek. Es mexicana. Es de Mexico. I'm talking about where she's from. Ella es morena. She is dark-haired brunette. Es actriz. Está en Los Ángeles. Está en el estudio. If I talk about where she's located, I can no longer use es. I need to switch to está. Okay. And the clue is usually with estar, you're going to hear something like en for location. Está en. Somebody is in a place or at a place. Okay. So usually you'll hear that little word en when we talk about location. Está en Los Ángeles. Está en el estudio. Or we might even use con. Está con el director de su película. She is with the director of her, that word película, what do you think? Movie. Movie. Está con el director de su película. She's with the director of her movie. That still tells you a location because it tells you who she's around. Yeah, okay. And now I'm going to switch to tener because of course she is not a child, but if we talk about her children, hijos, tiene dos hijos, she has literally, this is not an idiom yet, it literally is has. Ella tiene dos hijos, she has two children. Tiene yes.
Two sons or no?
I think they are sons. Sí, creo que sí. And even if it were a son and a daughter, it would still have to be hijos.
The hijos.
Yeah, because hijos, if it describes both male and female, defaults to the masculine form. Tiene dos hijos. Tiene dos hijos. Tiene un esposo muy rico. She's got a very rich husband. Tiene un esposo muy rico. El esposo de Salma es de Francia. El esposo de Salma. Salma's
husband.
Yeah,
French?
we don't have an apostrophe S. Salma's husband is from France.
Okay.
And now I'm going to use ser to describe something about her husband. Es un francés, he's a Frenchman. Es un francés muy rico. He's a very rich French guy. Frenchman. Ok, bien. Vale. Bueno, ok. El Papa Francisco. Oh, Pope Francis. Es el Papa Francisco. I'm just identifying him. I'm still going to identify him and tell what his job is. Es el jefe, which just kind of means the boss. And that's the simplest word I can use right now. Es el jefe de los católicos. That's the group, religious group he leads. Él es un hombre religioso. Talks about a personality characteristic. Es bajo, his stature, he is, no es alto, es
Short.
He's a short guy. Él es de la Argentina. He's from
Argentina
originally. And I could use the nationality. Él es argentino. That's nationality instead of the country. Argentina. Él es argentino. Él está en la Italia. This does not talk about where he is from. It talks about where he is right now. Está en Italia. And I could talk about a city instead of a country. Él está en Roma. He's in Rome. See? I could even be more specific than that. I could talk about where he is in a building. Está en la sala de su palacio. He's in the living room or salon of his
palace.
Because it is a palace. Yeah, it is a palace. But no, I'm not going to talk about what he is generally like. I'm going to talk about how he feels. Because he's smiling, está muy contento. He feels very happy. He is happy, but that's a feeling, not a location, not a nationality, not his job, not the way he generally acts. But here, if I use the word amable, which means kind, agreeable, and kind, right? Amable, kind, es muy amable. He is kind. Kind is not how he feels. It's what he acts like. It's a part of his personality trait. So we use ser. Es muy amable. Bien? Okay. Vale. And okay, uno más. We're going to pick one more. Oh, we're going to talk about somebody who is one retired person, one not retired. These are a couple of world leaders. Yeah, see, Angela Merkel. Wow, recently retired. Es de Alemania. She's from Germany. There's the word for Germany, Alemania. Angela Merkel es de Alemania, where she's from. So ser. Angela es alemana. She is German. Instead of Germany, this is German. We use ser because it's still her origin. And now, of course, she's recently retired, but we'll keep this in. Angela es ministra del gobierno. She's a minister, meaning she's got a high position, right? In el gobierno, in the government. For ser, we use it to talk about positions, jobs, what you do for a living, right? Now I'm going to identify the other person. El hombre es el señor Macron. The man is Mr. Macron. Macron es de Francia. where he's from. Macron es el presidente de Francia. He is the president of France, not retired, right? Now I'm going to talk about where they're located, because they are located together in this photo, en la foto. See, Angela está con means with. Está con Macron. She's with Macron, even though that's not like a city or a country, they're physically in the same space. They're with each other, right? So that's still talking about location. Está con Macron. And now I'm going to switch to a they form. Ellos están en Francia. They are in France, okay. Ellos están en París. They're in Paris. I'm talking about a city, not the country. And now I'm going to talk how they feel, because they both have smiles and they're in a good mood. And it's a feeling how they are in this moment. Ellos están contentos. They are
Happy.
in. Okay. So you see a little of the difference between using ser and estar. Okay. A little bit. Un poquito. We won't be able to spend a lot more time on ser y estar, although you're going to see examples on and on. I do want to ask, did you have any other questions on this video, which was rather long? I'm not going to play it, but this very long video that talked about ser and estar. Did you have any questions about that?
It was a good one.
It is a good one. It is a little more kind of middle school mentality, but it's a good one because it draws together how in English we just use I am, or you are, or he is. And even though we only use am, is, are, in Spanish, they might use one verb, ser, or versus a different verb, estar, versus in some situations, even that verb tener. Okay. We're going to talk algo más, anything else on that, sí o no? No? And, you know, you kind of have to just get a feeling for seeing a lot of examples. And then the more you hear and see, the more naturally it will come. I want to talk just a little bit about the forms of this verb tener. And then situations it will be used in where we could translate it to mean am, is, or are. Tener really doesn't mean am, is, or are. It means have, like in own, like in possess. And like ser, like estar, it is a highly irregular verb. And by irregular, I mean tener is what we call an ER verb. We'll talk about that next week. There are 3 different kinds of endings that all verbs in Spanish will have. They're either ending in ER, ending in AR, or ending in IR. And tener happens to be in that category of ending in ER. And it means to have. And generally, when you look at what we call an ER verb, they'll have certain kinds of endings because they are an ER category verb. And generally, for most verb, that TEN part would stay stable when you put the ending on. But in this case, tener is a very oddball thing. It's a very oddball verb, and it goes into all kinds of odd forms. But I do want you to notice some common things, and common things are going to be in different colors. So I want you to notice when we talk about plural, more than one person, it ends in a net sound. When we talk about a we form, meaning I'm in the group, the nosotros form, it's always going to get a mos ending. And the tú form will usually end in just an s. So the forms here, and I'd like you to try saying these forms of tener with me, are as follows. And this G comes from like out of nowhere. The yo form gets a G, but it's the only one that gets a G. Tengo. Repitan, por favor. Tengo.
Tengo.
Tengo. I have. Literally, I have, as in I own something. And you may want to use this if you prepared something to talk about your house, like to say, I have a certain number of rooms. You may want to use that verb tengo. Tengo muy común is a very, very useful verb. I have something, right? Tengo, tengo. Okay, la forma de tú. Here's the tú form. And notice the T-E-N turns into a T-I-E-N. Muy raro, really weird, but it sounds like this. Tienes.
Tienes.
Tienes. And the
Tienes.
S will be at the end. And to talk about one person having something, we take the S off the end of that tú form. It'll be the same as a tienes, but without the S at the end. Tiene.
Tiene.
Tiene. Tiene. Bien. Okay. And I want you to notice for the they form, it'll sound just like tiene, but we add a n sound on the end. Tienen.
Tienen.
Tienen. Tienen. And tenemos is the only form that we could say is regular because hemos would be a usual form for an ER verb, and we keep the ten part of the tener, so it's tenemos. Tenemos.
Tenemos.
Tenemos, we have. So I want to show you briefly situations in which tener will not be used as possess or own. Normally it does mean that, but tener is used. This goes back to that video with the to be or not to be gal. Tener is often used in what we call idioms. Idioms are special sentences that if you translate it literally, it will sound funky, weird, and bizarre, and it does not translate well, okay? And the idioms mean that in English, we would say I am, or you are, or he is, but that's not really what the verb tener means. Tener is used with certain ideas to become idioms. Here is where tener is normal, the have idea. Tengo un carro, I have a car. Mi familia tiene un perro. My family has a dog. That's the normal own, possess idea of have, tener. Tengo un carro, the verb tells that I am the one who has it. Mi familia tiene un perro. My family has a dog. I tell that my family unit has this little pet, okay? But there are common expressions that use tener. In English, we would not use have with these ideas, but they do in Spanish. Tener with calor, tener with frío. To talk about a person having the sensation, and it's got to be a human being. A human being is cold or is hot, meaning the human being feels cold or feels hot. We use calor or frío. Calor, like in calorie, which is a unit of heat, scientifically. So I'm hot is tengo calor. Tengo calor. Okay. I'm cold. Tengo frío. Tengo frío. Okay. Muy importante. So we're going to look at two examples, and I'm going to show you what never to say so that you don't embarrass yourself. But we're going to look at two normal examples. Tengo calor en agosto. Agosto is a month. Tengo calor en agosto. I am hot in August. Okay. Tengo frío en diciembre. I'm cold in
December.
December. And notice they don't capitalize months. Okay. Always, if you're hot, say tengo calor, meaning you feel hot. Never, never, never say, oh, it's how I feel or where I am, and I use estar. If you say estoy caliente, you are telling somebody I am horny. So don't. Yeah, Caliente means hot. El café está caliente. The coffee is hot. Don't ever say estoy caliente, because that has a special, very funky meaning, and it means that you are really revved up to have sex. And if you say to somebody estoy caliente, they're going to get like the totally wrong idea, and they're going to look at you like, what are you talking to me about? Why are you saying that? And there are people who've said, there was a guy walked out on his patio, saw his neighbor, hola, ¿cómo estás? Ah, bien. Ooh, you know, it was a really hot day. Ah, estoy caliente. And the neighbor's like, what the heck? This is like too much information, too personal. So cuidado, careful. Tengo calor. Always tengo calor. I feel hot. Okay, that's the way it is. We use tener with other special phrases. We use tener with, this is not doing what I want. Okay, tener with a number, and we're going to venture into numbers in a few minutes. Tener with a number, and años. Años means years. In Spanish, you have a number of years. Tengo 60 años. I'm 60. Roberto tiene 10 años. Roberto is 10 years old, but in Spanish, they literally say he has 10 years. That's just the way they express that idea, okay? We don't use have to express that idea, but they do. Here's another way that people, or another idea that people use tener to express hunger and thirst. So notice hot and cold sensations, hunger and thirst sensations. In Spanish, I am not hungry. I am not thirsty. I have hunger. I have thirst. That's just the way they say that idea. So tener hambre is to be hungry. Tener sed means to be thirsty. Literally in Spanish, you have hunger, you have thirst. French, oddly, does this. I believe German does this too. So to say he is hungry, talking about the little kid, él tiene hambre. Él tiene hambre. He is hungry. Ella tiene sed. She is thirsty. That's the way they express that idea. To talk about somebody being sleepy, they use the combination of tener with sueño. Sueño. Ella tiene sueño. Sueño literally means a dream, but it means also sleepiness. Ella tiene sueño. She has sleepiness. Okay, so these are phrases that use tener. A lot of times they're physical sensations, not all the time, but sleepiness, hunger, thirst, hot or cold, those sensations, body sensations. And sometimes we use them that things that are not really body sensations, but this is just to give you an idea of how many ideas use tener. These also use tener, where in English we would not say have, we would say am or is or are. Tener cuidado, to be careful. Tengo mucho cuidado con el carro. I am very careful with the car. Tener suerte, to be lucky. Tengo suerte con la lotería. I am lucky with the lottery. Yeah, see? To be right. Razón means correctness. Yeah, tener razón. Papá no tiene razón. Dad is not.
No claro.
Right. Yeah.
No claro. So claro for correct.
Oh,
See?
claro can mean clear. So sometimes when you want to tell somebody, oh yeah, of course, you might say claro.
Okay.
Okay.
but
So
not
people
for
use,
right or correct. So it's
right,
okay.
but yeah, no. So if you say somebody is right, it tiene razón. Okay, or in this case, we made it negative. No tiene razón. Bien? Okay. To be scared, they used to have fear to express that idea. Ella tiene miedo a las serpientes. She's scared of snakes. Ella tiene miedo a las serpientes. Okay, bien. And to be in a hurry uses the idea of tener prisa. And actually, there are a few ways to say that you're in a hurry, but this is one of them, tener prisa. Somebody says, mira la hora, look at the time, mira la hora, tengo prisa, I'm in a hurry. Mira la hora, tengo prisa, means you're in a rush, I'm in a rush, okay, bien? And we're going to wrap this up. We're going to look at a description again, but it's going to combine all the different verbs. But in English, we would be using a lot of she is. So even though English would only use is, Spanish will use a bunch of different verbs to express these different ideas. And here we're not even going to use is. Ella se llama Simone Biles. Her name is, see? Ella se llama Simone Biles. Es gimnasta. She's a gymnast. It's what she does. Okay. Es campeona olímpica. She's an Olympic champion.
Oh, champion.
And notice when I say Olympic, I make it feminine because campeona is feminine, champion. So Olympic must also be feminine. Es campeona olímpica. She's an Olympic champ. But now I'm going to talk about how she feels. Ella está emocionada de ganar medallas. She's excited
with her gold medal.
To have won gold medals. Sí, de ganar means she's excited to have won. Okay. Gold medals. And now I'm just going to go through a physical description. Es baja y musculosa.
She's very muscular.
She's short and very muscular. Yeah, she's short and muscular. And notice adjectives, descriptions that talk about how she feels or what she looks like have to be in a feminine form because she is a woman. Es baja y musculosa. And notice they end in a. Okay. And now I'm going to say that she has a certain hair color and eye color. Tiene el pelo negro y los ojos marrones. I'm going to talk about colors. Tiene el pelo negro. She's got black hair. Y los ojos marrones and brown
eyes.
Often they use tiene with you have a certain hair color. Tiene with you have a certain eye color. And now I'm going to talk about where she's from. So I switch to ser. Es de Estados Unidos. She's from
United States.
USA. But now I talk about where she is and what she's doing. Está en Texas practicando. And practicando means ing. She's
practicing in Texas.
She's practicing in Texas. Está en Texas practicando. And we're going to finish off with a tener. I would say she is 24, but in Spanish, I can't. I have to say she has 24 years. Tiene 24 años. She has 24 years. You would never say that in English. She has 24 years, but that's just the way they express that idea. Bien?
Bien.
Bien? Okay. Bien. Now, putting that all together will take a little bit of time. It may not immediately leap to your mind. You'll have to stop and think a little harder about using those, and that is okay, and that is normal, okay? But we're going to seg from that into a little bit about la casa. La casa, bien, okay? We're going to talk about la casa and rooms in a house, places in a house. So we're going to, and how we start to incorporate ser and estar and maybe tener into descriptions about la casa, los cuartos y unos ejemplos, rooms and some examples. And you had a couple of videos that talked about rooms in a house. The one room in the whole house that people may use a variety of words to talk about is that word bedroom. Regionally, in different regions, in different countries, they may prefer one word for bedroom over another. And it's kind of a dialect thing. It's not a big deal, but just know that all these different words mean bedroom. But if you live in Spain, you might like dormitorio better. If you live in Mexico, you'll probably use habitación or cuarto.
You're not sharing your screen if you're trying.
Oh, perdón. Ay, gracias. Thank you. I had to turn that off.
So what is just room then? Because I saw it was a habitación.
Well, no. Okay.
Which seems like a long word for room.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's kind of break that down. Because when you go to a hotel, especially to rent stuff, you may hear different words. Cuarto by itself means any old room in general. It can mean any old room in general. Un cuarto. Okay. I think the old idea in English of saying that somebody has quarters in a certain building, like soldiers would have quarters, comes from this same idea. It goes way back to Latin, okay? You know, soldiers were quartered in a house, meant they were housed in a house. And this idea of cuarto from the old Latin word, okay, can mean any room in general, but in certain regions they like cuarto for bedroom sometimes. Some places like dormitorio, which that sounds like dormitory, and it's just about big enough to sleep in and study in and not a lot more, right? But this word is my favorite, the one I prefer for bedroom, because habitación, well, I don't know, it's just what I prefer. Habitación is very, very frequently used with hotels, okay? They'll talk about habitación doble, a room where this many people will sleep, yeah, double, right? Or habitación individual.
Single.
Yeah, single room. So when you go into un hotel, they may very well use this word habitación, and they're talking about their rooms in the hotel. They mean the bedrooms, because really you're not doing a lot more than sleeping. Okay, you might, but you know, that's the prime use. But habitación is used a lot for the word bedroom. Alcoba, I think, is a little bit less used, but well, it depends on where you're in. Actually, even I know in Chile, there's another room, but I didn't want to complicate it beyond 4. So really any of those 4 words works for the idea of bedroom, okay? It's the one word that is a little bit complicated. ¿Cómo se llama el cuarto? What do we call this room?
Sala.
La sala.
La sala, la sala. If it were like, let's say if you were in somebody's house and it was really huge, they might even make it bigger la sala and call it salón, which sounds like salon, salon, right? Salon is often used for like a conference room. It's a big meeting room, un salón, but la sala, la sala. And let's look at how we might describe this sala.
Mhm.
La sala tiene, the living room has. La sala tiene un sofá grande. It has a
Big sofa.
Large sofa.
large sofa. Tiene dos ventanas. It has
2 windows.
2
two
windows.
windows. Tiene dos lámparas.
2
2
lamps.
lamps.
Two lamps. Tiene dos mesitas.
Tables.
2 tables, and ita makes it little. So these would not be tables you would eat at. Una mesa, a table, is where you a working surface, an eating surface, okay, something big. But mesita turns it into a little table. So we would say a side table, probably, you know, little tables. Tiene dos mesitas. And now I'm going to tell where this room is located, because there are 2 floors. Piso generally means a floor, a level in a house or an apartment building. La sala está en is in location. La sala está en el primer piso de la casa. The living room is on the
Main.
first, the main
Primary.
floor, the first floor, right? And know that in some countries, they don't use primer piso for first floor. They sometimes use it actually for second floor, okay? And they sometimes call
Ground floor.
ground floor. They use that term, okay? Planta baja, planta baja. Planta baja, if you hear that, sounds like low plant, but it means ground floor. Okay, bien, vale. Okay, perdón. ¿Cómo se llama el cuarto? Now you may have different words you want to use for this. ¿Qué es? What is it? ¿Qué es?
Habitaciones.
Es la habitación. Es la
Dorm-
habitación.
Dormitorio.
Dormitorio, right. Okay,
That's
so I
big.
might use different words for that. Es el dormitorio. Es la habitación. Now I'm going to talk about what it's like. Es muy grande.
Very big.
It's very
Large.
big.
Very big.
Es muy moderna.
It's modern.
It's very modern. It's decorated in a modern way. See? And now I'm going to talk about what the main piece of furniture in a dormitorio tiene una cama. It
One bed.
has a bed. Tiene una cama. And I could either say for existence I, or I could use tiene, hay una cama, or tiene una cama. Either there is a bed or it has, tiene una cama. Either way, I can use either idea to say that. Hay una cama, there is a bed. Tiene una cama, it has a bed. Okay. Hay dos mesitas.
2 tables.
There are 2 tables, 2 little tables. Hay dos lámparas.
2 lamps.
There are 2 lamps. And now I'm going to talk about what floor it's on. Está en el segundo piso. It's on
Second.
second floor. And notice that when we talk about location and we use estar, and I mean location, I frequently pair it with that little word en. Está en, it's on or it's in. En can mean on or in. Está en. We frequently pair en with a form of estar to talk about location. Vale, magnífico. ¿Qué es el cuarto? What is this room? ¿Qué es el cuarto?
Cocina. Coquina.
Okay, and we pronounce this la cocina.
Cocina.
Cocina. In Italian, it's cucina. Cucina. Yeah, they pronounce it a little bit differently. Cucina. La cucina italiana. Okay, but la cocina. La cocina. La cocina. Okay, bien. We're going to say many things about this kitchen, but I want you to notice how we're going to mix. We can mix different verbs to express different ideas. I am just going to talk about these two items being in this general area. Hay dos sillas en la cocina. There are two chairs. I know, taburete, stool is a different word, but hay dos sillas. There are two places to sit. Yeah, sillas. Okay. I'm going to talk about something else that exists in this living space. Hay una puerta.
Door.
There's a door. But now I'm going to switch because I don't feel like using I again. I'm going to say it has. Tiene. Tiene dos ventanas.
Windows.
It has two windows. So, sometimes people may mix all these verbs just so they don't have to repeat a verb over and over again. They'll mix them up to express these ideas. Now, I want you to notice that I am describing a feminine thing, la cocina, okay? La cocina is a feminine thing. It's just the designation for that. So if I describe its colors, the color theme, I have to use those color themes in a feminine form also. La cocina es blanca y negra. The kitchen is black and white. Okay, it's blanca y negra. That's white and black. Okay, and those words blanca y negra, they have to end in an a, feminine kind of ending, because la cocina is a feminine thing. Also, because cocina is feminine, if I say it's modern, es moderna. It's a modern design, see? And now I'm going to say what it has, and this is one of the words for fridge. There are many words for fridge, depending on what country you're in. Nevera is one word for fridge, refrigerator. Tiene una nevera grande. It has a big fridge. Tiene una nevera grande. And notice, they don't say a big fridge. They say a fridge big. Descriptions that paint a picture in your head, those words follow the thing they talk about. They don't come in front. You would never say has a fridge big. You would say has a big fridge. But in Spanish, that descriptive word will come after the thing it talks about. Tiene una nevera grande. And I'm going to say it has a modern oven. Horno is oven. Tiene, it has. I'm talking about la cocina. La cocina tiene. Tiene un horno moderno. It has a modern oven.
Oven, yeah.
Okay. Tiene un horno moderno. And literally it becomes, it has an oven modern. But that's the word order they use, right? The description word moderno follows the thing it talks about. The description word grande follows the thing it talks about. And notice, I don't say it has. I don't need the word it. That verb says the whole thing because it's talking about this many things. It's talking about one thing, la cocina. So people won't repeat la cocina tiene, la cocina tiene, la cocina tiene. They'll just say tiene. Once they establish, I'm talking about la cocina, once we establish right in the beginning, la cocina es blanca y negra, I don't need to repeat la cocina ever again. Es moderna. It is, we don't need the it. Tiene una nevera grande. It has, we don't need the word it. Tiene un horno moderno. It has a modern oven. Okay. We don't need the word it. We just need the verb to talk about a singular thing. And that's going to happen no matter what kind of verb you're using. Okay.
And if Christian, if you're just
Easy.
running it, if you're running it all together, would you just use the E? Is it E or A for and? The Y? You know, the Y that stands for and,
yeah.
right? So like it's modern and
let's go in and do
a
that.
large, right? Like a large oven and or a modern oven. And
I could shorten this.
okay.
By just adding E for and. Tiene una nevera grande y un horno moderno. So the reason I have tiene in twice is to show you the verb has. It has, right? Bien. Bien.
But if you're stating multiple of these, right? If this was all going to be one sentence, is it still like the same as like adding commas and then just adding the E at the end?
Often. Now I would probably do this if I made it all one big sentence. I'm going to go back to es moderna. If I were to string it all together into one long sentence, which I could, es moderna y tiene una nevera grande y un horno moderno.
Oh, you still do the Y for both. Okay.
Yeah, I might string all those ideas. I could have them as little separate sentences, which I do just to show you they can function as little separate sentences, or I could string it all together, which would take a lot of thought on your part right now, right? Because, well, yeah. So the reason I break it down into short things is so that, you can piece it together, right? A little more easily. But yes, eventually, es moderna y tiene una nevera grande y un horno moderno. Now, I would have no trouble stringing that all together, but starting out, that would be kind of a big mouthful, wouldn't it? See? Bien? Okay, buena pregunta. Otra pregunta. Other question about this. Sí.
When do you use just Y as an end? And is there like a YI also used as an end?
Oh, this word Y, when the letter Y is used by itself, not in combination with other letters, it means the word and.
Okay, but I also seen like YI, so it's like 2 letters and it means like and.
You saw
No?
this? That, no. You might
No,
hear...
it would be like la cocina es blanca, YI negra. Is that also used? No, it's always.
No. Okay. So, por ejemplo, I can't do that.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, here is what may happen. Let me.
No. Right next to it, like the one word is YI. So if I want to say like in my house, I have 2.5 bathroom, then it said YI. There was an I next to the Y.
Oh.
Medios. Those
okay.
Y medios.
Okay. Un baño y medio. Like that? Yeah, bath and a half. And they'll just call it a couple of bathrooms.
But the next to the Y, there was an I there. The word had 2 letters, Y and I. That's why I was getting a little confused.
Okay. You may see this. Okay.
Google Translate does not recognize YI together.
Sometimes, yeah, they won't ever be together. It may be given as a choice. So, for example, sometimes we sub this letter I in for the y, and we sometimes we substitute it. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Like in this number, 22. That y right there, that I in between 22 is substituting for this word. It's substituting for this letter, which means a whole word and. So sometimes, yeah. Okay, por ejemplo, I'm going to give you one more quick example. You won't hear that often, and you won't hear it at all. You will see it written. Okay, para que sepas, so that you know. Like, por ejemplo, tengo hijos. No, bien. Well, okay. I don't want to get too complicated. What I'm just going to say is condense it.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're only going to see that I sub in for that letter y to the word and, but rare occasions, not often. Okay, so I guess my bet. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't worry about it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Bien. ¿Qué es este cuarto? What's this room?
Bathroom.
Ese bathroom. Sí. ¿Cómo se dice bathroom? Baño.
Baño.
Okay. In a house, this is called baño. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Es el baño. El baño es blanco y grande. It's white and big. And notice, not blanca, but blanco, because baño is a masculine noun. El baño es blanco y grande. Tiene una ducha. It has a
bath.
Ducha. It has a shower. Ducha.
Oh, shower.
Yeah, ducha is a shower.
Oh.
Tiene una ducha. Okay. And now, because I don't want to repeat tiene, I'm going to switch to a different verb. I'm going to say just this thing is in the area. Hay también means also. Hay también bañera. There's also a bath tub.
Tub, okay.
Bañera is a bathtub. Ducha is a shower. I'm going to talk about how many of these things are that you use to dry off. Hay dos toallas en el baño. There are
two towels.
Hay dos toallas en el baño. If you have no towels in your hotel room, you have to tell them, no hay toallas. Yeah. So you go down to the lobby because somebody forgot to put towels in your room and you say, no hay toallas. Right? There aren't any, because the negative of there aren't. No hay toallas. And you might say,
me, how do you pronounce that? The T-O-A?
Toallas.
Toallas.
Yeah, let's look at this word, toallas. We have to take, it's kind of an odd word. That is not a frequent combination in Spanish, but we have to pronounce both the o and the a. Toalla. And then we've got that double L, which is a yup, toalla. Toalla, see? You might go down to la recepción, the lobby, the front desk, and say, necesito dos toallas, por favor. I need, necesito dos toallas, por favor. No hay toallas, necesito dos toallas, por favor. Bien, okay. So this is a bathroom. Now I want to caution you when we talk about a bathroom. When you're talking about a bathroom that is not in a house, a bathroom that is in a public area, En un restaurante, por ejemplo, in a restaurant, a bathroom in a restaurant may be called by a different name. Some places don't. If you donde está el baño, where's the bathroom? They're fine with it. Some places will look at you kind of funny, like, why would I have a bathtub in my restaurant? Because that's what they're thinking. Un baño, a baño is a room where you have a full bath. So some regionally, there are differences for how they talk about a bathroom in a public space. En el restaurante, sometimes it's different. A baño has a bathtub, okay? So be aware, and I've got my preferred public place restroom underlined. Donde está el baño? They might be okay with, but you might get a funny look. So what I prefer, ¿dónde están los servicios? Where are the services? Meaning, where's the restroom? Okay, if you what you really mean is a restroom because you're in a museum, a restroom because you're in a restaurant, a restroom because you're in a conference room, a restroom because you're in I don't know, any public place, yeah. Los servicios is often a very generally recognized word for restroom. Just has a toilet and a sink. Okay. Some places in Spain like the word aseos, but I think only Spain. So don't use that one in Mexico. Some places you may even hear the men's room and the women's room. We use that in English, yeah. And they'll use cuarto, that general room. ¿Dónde está el cuarto de hombres? ¿Dónde está el cuarto de damas? Where is the men's room? Where is the ladies' room? Damas is ladies. Okay. But if I were traveling and I were asking in a restaurant for a bathroom, I personally would seg right into that. ¿Dónde están los servicios? I would do that first. That's just what I have found the most useful in the largest number of areas, largest number of countries. Okay.
So it's so interesting because like the signs at restaurants in Mexico and so forth, or even planes and stuff, they always call it a baño.
But see, yeah, some places they are okay with baño. Some places they're okay with baño.
I feel like most of my Mexico places understand baños when it comes to Americans.
Yeah, but some places, you know, you'll get the funny kind of look. So I'm just saying, be prepared for that. Because there really are different things accepted in different countries, in different regions of different countries, even. It really depends on where you are.
But the doors say hombre and damas.
Hombre y dama, yeah. Hombre y dama, yeah. Men and ladies. Damas, ladies. They always do they don't, you won't see mujer, woman. You'll see damas generally, okay? Well, you might see mujeres. You're likely to see damas, ladies, because they're being genteel about it. Okay, bien. Does anybody have a description of their house that they would like to share now that you've had a few of those? And don't, I know you may feel a little wobbly about that, but you know, do you want me to start off with my thing first? Sí? Bien? Okay.
Yeah.
En mi casa tengo, and I'm going to guess here that no es exacto. Tengo 14 cuartos. Tiene 14 cuartos. Okay. En mi casa hay un garaje con 2 carros. Bien, ok. Hay 2 salas, una sala formal y otra sala como cuarto de familia, sí. Hay un comedor, hay una cocina grande. En mi casa, tengo 4 habitaciones. Tengo 4
bedrooms.
habitaciones.
Yeah, 14 rooms. Okay.
Sí.
4 bedrooms.
4 bedrooms.
14.
4. Sí, 14 cuartos, 14 rooms, pero 4 habitaciones. Tengo 4 habitaciones. Mi casa tiene, I'm switching gears a little bit. Not I have, but my house has. Mi casa tiene 4 baños. Hay una oficina.
One office.
Hay una oficina para mi esposo. Hay una oficina para mi esposo. Bien?
Yes.
Bien? Okay. So I just want you to talk about like the number of rooms. If you feel comfortable with the description, that's okay, but you don't have to. Muy básico, very, very basic. Anybody got something they have to share about their house? Bien? Okay, let's start with
Yeah. I
okay.
can go.
Let's start with CJ first, and we'll just do a round robin.
Okay.
Mi casa es uno piso.
It's 1 floor.
Sí.
Bien. Sí.
Tiene 10 cuartos.
10 cuartos, 10 rooms.
10 cuartos. 3 baños y 3 dormitorios y una la sala.
Okay. Now I'm going to correct one little thing, CJ. When you say 3 habitaciones, okay, 3 bedrooms, we don't need el or la with 3.
Okay.
With a number, we don't pair el or la.
Okay, so
Okay.
10 el cuatro.
10 cuartos.
10.
10.
What's the problem with that room one?
Okay, so let's that's okay. This is all right. This is okay because we're learning word order. Tiene, it has, tiene 10 cuartos. Tiene 10 cuartos, but never tiene 10 el cuartos or tiene 3 los cuartos. Los or las won't come into play when I put a number in. So we get rid of the el or the la or the.
So tiene 3 baños y 3 dormitorios y una sala.
Perfecto.
Y una cocina y una comedor.
Un comedor.
Comedor y una oficina. El patio con piscina.
Un patio con piscina, a patio with a pool. Magnífico.
Y 2 garaje. I don't like that word either.
Garaje.
Garaje.
Okay, let's look at that word because we all have one of those.
Dos garaje.
Garajes, perfecto. CJ, hiciste bien. You did well. Garajes. Garajes. We put an H-E at the end. Garaje. Bien, perfecto. Perfecto. Okay. Excelente. Muy bien. Okay. Vale. Bueno, sí. Liza, sí. Bien.
Okay. Yo tengo una casa bonita.
Bien.
Hay muchos espejos en las paredes.
There are many mirrors on the walls. Bien. Okay.
La casa tiene 2 habitaciones.
Bien. Habitaciones. Let's all do that word. That is and you know what? We have to fight the impulse to do a sh. Habitaciones. Habitaciones. Bien.
Habitación.
I know it's a long word. Yeah. Habitaciones. You're doing okay.
All right. con dos baños, una sala, un comedor, una cocina y más.
Okay. Muy bien, muy bien. Okay, bien. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You know, we learn from making little mistakes, and then how do we tweak it? How do we tweak it? That's all. That's what all language is about. Okay, little kids have to do this too. Okay, Darshu, ¿tienes algo?
Mi casa tiene 3 habitaciones y
Habitaciones.
un sala de fitness.
Una sala de ejercicio. Ejercicio.
Ejercicio.
Sí, ejercicio.
Okay. Tiene dos de media baño.
2 baños y medio, 2 y medio baños, 2 y medio. Bien.
Is that medio or medio?
Medio means half.
Medio, half.
Medio, half. Yeah.
Medio.
Like we say midday is halfway through the day. Medio.
Okay.
Or medium is like in between small and large, right? Medio.
Yo tengo dos garaje. Tengo garaje, 2 carros.
Con 2 carros, un garaje con 2 carros. Bien.
Okay. That's it.
Okay, está bien. That's good. That's all. You know what? We're communicating really basic ideas. That's fine. Está bien. Bueno, sí. Padmini, ¿tienes algo?
Oh boy. Okay. Let's see. Mi casa 11 cuartos.
Cuartos.
Sorry, cuartos.
Sí.
Tiene 2 garajes con 5 carros.
Wow.
Yeah, don't ask me. We only have 2 cars.
Es correcto. Okay.
Tiene 4 habitaciones.
Habitaciones, bien.
Y 3 baños.
Bien.
Mi casa muchas ventanas y puertas.
Tiene muchas ventanas y puertas. Bien.
Puertas.
Bien.
Una cocina grande y 2 salas.
Excelente. Muy bien. Muy bien. Hicieron bien. You did well. You guys really did well. I know you felt tentative about it, but hicieron bien. You did well. This is something that is tough to do. And Holly, I don't know, you don't want to turn on your sound because you got the work people. Yeah. And that's okay if you don't want to. Okay. Bien. Okay. See, I want to bring up one little thing, and this is kind of important for pronunciation to make sure that you are understood. We have 2 words right now which might mess us up just a teeny tiny bit. And we're going to look at this, and this because of because this has different meaning. Cuarto. Think of quarter. We have an R in the word English word quarter. Before we get to the T, we have an R. Quarter, right? And it's like that. Cuarto.
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 Cuarto is quarter. Cuarto is like quarter. You will learn later on that cuarto also means quarter, as in quarter of an hour. So cuarto has many meanings. It can mean a quarter of an hour. It can mean 15 minutes. In other words, when we tell time, it can mean a room, any room in general. It can mean a bedroom. cuarto. It can mean a quarter of something, a quarter, you know, fraction wise, a quarter, cuarto, but it's R first, cuarto, cuarto, okay? Repitan, por favor, cuarto, 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 bien, cuarto, okay? But look at, and because this is where a lot of times I hear some of you, but some of everybody who's always in my classes. So know that everybody makes this error.
Cuatro.
Oh, they are different. Those two letters are just transposed, but they're completely different words. So the T first, cuatro, is this many. Cuatro. Cuatro, right? But cuarto is something entirely different. See? So I want to make sure you got those, because we've been working with numbers, that you've got that really firm in your brain of cuatro, you know, right? This many, cuatro, 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 but cuarto, cuarto.
Quarter of an hour.
Quarter of an, yeah. So I want you to show how confusing this can become if you don't separate those, listening and speaking. If I want to say it's 4:15, 4:15, or somebody tells you, oh, your bus leaves at 4:15, your train leaves at 4:15. At 4:15, okay, at 4:15. Okay, see, a las 4:15. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah. A las 4:15.
Oh.
Oh.
I thought you were going to actually just do the 4 and the 15 and do
Yeah.
the cuatro y
yes.
quince
So, yeah.
versus.
CJ, qué buena idea. If you are afraid of making a mistake, instead of saying quarter, you can just use the word 15, quince. You can. But know that people like to throw that word cuatro and cuarto around. Cuarto is a very popular way to say a quarter of an hour. Okay, so if it's quarter till or quarter after, it's very, very common. People may throw that word around and know that it means that many, 15, right? But they're using the word quarter of an hour instead, just so you know, okay? So cuarto, a room, and think of a quarters for somebody who is having lodging, quarters, their quarters are in there, okay. Okay, oh darn, and we didn't get to as much of our numbers as I wanted to. Okay, but what I want to do is kind of preview what I would like you to do for next week, because I am giving you a freebie lesson next week. I had wanted to do some more numbers practice, but we just ran out of time. Here's what we're going to do. En el libro, in the book, I want you to check out really, really carefully to prep a little bit. We're going to leave Ser and Estar for a little while. I want you to prep Capítulo 5, Chapter 5, describing things. And we'll come back to some numbers. We'll mix some numbers with talking about describing things. And what they're going to talk about is adjectives. And they're going to talk about a really limited number of adjectives. Things that you might like commonly used word. Adjectives could be thousands of things. So, we can't overwhelm you with thousands of descriptions, but they're going to go through descriptions like big and little, small and large, maybe long and short, cheap and expensive, because we need that word a lot in traveling, or expensive, costs a lot, inexpensive and expensive. Wide and narrow, because we buy clothing and we talk about shoes. old and new, pretty and not so pretty. Okay, they're going to go through some really basic descriptions. And I'm going to add to that a video that will talk to you about how these descriptions can go into different forms. But I want you to notice something really special. So I'm going to show you a part, only a part, not the audio, but just the visuals. When you see, can you see the flag? See?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. This is going to talk to you about descriptions also, but using a different vehicle. And the vehicle or the means of teaching this is going to be colors. Okay, colors. So when they show you colors, they're going to use colors as a means of talking about the different forms that adjectives can take. And I want you to notice it because this was done with a great deal of thought. They're going to show you that description words in this sense, in this case, colors. Colors or any descriptive word that end in O and 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 in O will have to have both a masculine and a feminine form. So that O at the end of the description, in this case a color, might have to change to an A. Like we used with la cocina blanca y negra, okay? Description words, whether they are tall or short or red, orange or yellow, description words that end in O will need to change to a feminine form. But you'll notice some of these description words don't end in O. And they're going to take some words away from the screen when that happens. Description words, adjectives that do not end in O, like azul, like verde, like marrón, like gris. When a description word does not end in O, most of the time we'll use the exact same word for the masculine and the feminine. So in other words, I will not need a separate feminine form for the majority, most. Notice I didn't say 100%. For most adjectives or descriptions. So if the word ends in an O, I'll need to make it a feminine form if it talks about a feminine thing. But if the description does not end in O, I can use the same word for masculine, the same word for feminine. Yay. Okay. You will notice in this video, they will show you how we need masculine and feminine, and sometimes we need singular and plural. So we'll just add an S. If the last letter is a vowel, we add an ES. If the last letter of this description is a consonant. And she'll say it and you'll see it. So these visuals are very carefully done to show you how adjectives, descriptive words, can be masculine and feminine, might be singular and plural, and how all those little forms are going to morph and change around. Does that make sense? See? Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to give you that video and a follow-up page to practice that a little bit. And we'll plug that into descriptions of some pictures next week. And then we'll tackle some of those bigger numbers again next week. Does that make sense? See? Yeah?
Yes.
And I think that's going to be probably all we can do. I want you as a homework assignment to grab one item and tell me whether it's big or small, what color it is. Something really simple. Really simple. An item of clothing or a simple thing that you can identify as feminine or masculine, and tell me one thing about how that looks. Generally, it's color, or maybe it's size. Make sense? See?
Sí.
Perfecto. Perfect. Okay. Bien. So you're going to have the chapter 5 to read in the book, that video and a little page. It'll work on that, and keep working those numbers. We'll come back to numbers and do more with numbers, with practicing numbers, because that's really important. Es importante. Okay. ¿Está bien?
Bien, gracias.
Nos
Muchas
vemos.
gracias.
De nada, de nada. Nos vemos el martes. I've got a helicopter flying over my house. Why is that happening? I hope you cannot hear it. Okay, so we'll work that next week, Tuesday. It's your freebie lesson, so do come back next Tuesday. ¿Está bien?
Gracias, sí.
Sí,
Perfecto,
gracias.
de nada, de nada.
Hasta
Nos
luego.
vemos. Hasta luego, sí, nos vemos.